Good morning. This is Darlene. I'm from Alabama, and I want to talk to you about transverse myelitis. Today is Transverse Myelitis Awareness Day in Alabama, Florida, and Pennsylvania, and North Carolina. We have Transverse Myelitis Awareness Month for all of the states in the USA. Transverse myelitis is a disease that it comes on so fast you don't know what happens to you. You can start having tingling or numbness in your legs, and in 30 minutes or an hour you may be paralyzed from the waist down, or you could be paralyzed from the neck down. It just depends on where the myelin sheath is destroyed from an attack. And this attack occurs from a virus or sometimes vaccinations that attack your myelin sheath around your spinal cord. And when it does that, it destroys it, so it leaves your nerves open and without the coating on them that's called the myelin sheath. And so the reason I'm here today is to tell you about the 35 or 36,000 people in the United States that have this disease. We want everyone to learn about it so that you can be diagnosed early and you can be diagnosed properly and given the right treatment. There is no cure for transverse myelitis. We call it TM to make it short, and the TM family is all we have in this world to talk to about this disease. Very few doctors have knowledge of this unless they specialize in it. So we were lucky enough when my son, the day after his 29th birthday, woke up paralyzed from the waist down. And he managed to crawl to the couch to pull himself up and lay on the couch, thinking that he slept funny and that it would just go away. Well, within hours, it was up to his chest. So I called 911 and got them there, and we found a doctor that immediately knew what it was and transferred us to the best hospital around, UAB in Birmingham. And they started him with treatments of transverse myelitis, for transverse myelitis, of 1,500 milligrams of super strong steroids every day for 5 days. If you get this started as soon as possible, it stops the transverse myelitis from getting any worse. If you don't get it, you can continue to get worse, and the attack will continue. So today, I want to tell you about my son. Most of the people that know me know that ever since he had his attack, I have been an advocate for transverse myelitis. The little city that I live in is called Oneonta, and they passed a Transverse Myelitis Awareness Day for our city alone because we have 10 people in this city that have, or in this community, that have transverse myelitis. 3 of them have passed away. And then our state, the state of Alabama, was so helpful in getting a state-wide Transverse Myelitis Awareness Day. Now, these days for Oneonta and Alabama are June 9th. This day for our proclamation is June 9th. So on June 9th, we ask everyone to wear royal blue, wear our signature blue. A lot of people will ask why you're wearing blue, or what is the blue bracelet for? And that's when we can tell them what this disease is. We need more doctors learning about it. We need the public to learn about it so that we can educate the whole world, because this doesn't happen just in the United States. It happens a lot in the UK and other parts of the country, other parts of the world. Some parts of the world don't have any treatment whatsoever. So a lot of people do come to the United States. They come to some of our specialty places. There's one in Texas, and there is the John Hopkins. So they have a specialty place for TM, and the Shepherd Center in Georgia is a great place. So we want you to know that there are places where you can get help, but you've got to get immediate help close by before you go anywhere. And physical therapy is a very important part of learning to live your life again with transverse myelitis. So many people that become paralyzed stay paralyzed the rest of their life. A lot of them are able to work through PT and become able to walk with assistance, with a cane or a walker. Sometimes it's with braces on their legs. Some of those can't even feed themselves. They have to be fed by a tube. And this is what saddens me so much. I hate to see children that get this disease. I hate to see the teenagers that get this disease. I hate to see anyone get it. But my son, Daniel Robertson, which the TM community knows, and the people in Oneonta know, he was a very vibrant, fun guy, and this took him down. It changed his personality, it changed his lifestyle, it changed his friends. He could no longer go out with his friends and do things with his friends. So he ended up alone with just me. And a boy of that age needs friends. They need guy friends. They need people to talk to. So through the TM community on the internet, he was able to find a friend in Colorado that he would talk to on a regular basis. And through her, that helped him cope with being alone. But people just don't understand that this disease causes great depression, because you are alone a lot of the time and your life is so secluded. And if you know people that have it, please reach out to them. Please talk to them, help them, call them. Just be their friend. Have someone, you'll be someone that they can call if they just need to talk, and listen to them. Daniel had a really rough time for a while, but he was able to learn to walk because of his determination, and he got treatment very early. Some days he had a hard time walking. Other days he could walk fairly good. He couldn't walk for a long time. He couldn't walk far. And he had the type of transverse myelitis that was relapsing. He would become paralyzed again every few months. And the doctors here really could not help us. They didn't understand. They suspected he had neuromyelitis optica, but they never went forward with that and tried to treat it. And in the end, his transverse myelitis would just get worse every time he had an attack. He had some very good days the last few days before he died, and I think it was only through God that happened. He had totally turned his life around and was studying the Bible and was giving his testimony to people. And it was the most beautiful thing to see. He had always been a Christian, but had not walked the walk, and I had not either. But through him and both of us studying the Bible and walking that walk together, we grew in our faith, and we grew so close. We were closer than most mother and son relationships are, because we only had each other. The day before, 2 days before he died, he was at my store talking to my mom about the Bible. And he was telling her things that she hadn't heard before and things that she knew were true, and he knew all about it. I am just so gracious to his heart and him opening his heart to God again and returning that faith that he grew up with as a child. And so he called me every day, several times a day, and checked in with me. Most of the time he wanted me to bring lunch or make sure I brought dinner home, because he was hungry and he couldn't go get it himself. Sometimes he couldn't stand up long enough to make something for himself. But those that saw him on good days thought he was normal, because without knowing the pain he had in his legs, the numbness that he had in his legs, they didn't realize that this nerve pain is a tremendous pain to go through. And he didn't want most people to know how bad he was. He put on a good front most of the time, but sometimes it would come out in anger, frustration, and who can blame him? I would too. But he was so happy the last few months of his life, actually, in the last few weeks, and especially the last few days before he died. On a Saturday, it was October 26th. I hadn't heard from him, and I kept calling, and I couldn't get him. So I started texting him, and I thought maybe he was just sleeping because he had a bad day. But then finally I got worried. So I left work and went home, and that's when I found him in the floor. He had passed away from respiratory failure due to complications of transverse myelitis. This has been very hard for me. I have found so much faith and grown in my faith since then. That's the only reason I've been able to live through this horrible, horrible nightmare that I've lived through, and many others have lived through. I just want you to know that Daniel loved life, and he loved me so much that he worried about my future. He did not want me to be alone. And he told me this. He told me that he knew that he would die before me because his disease was getting worse. And he was afraid for me to be alone. He is the most precious thing that God gave me. From the day he was born until today, he was my first love, is my first love, and will forever be my first love. So please, don't let this happen to you. Learn about transverse myelitis. Make sure you know the symptoms. Be aware of it so you can mention it to the doctors. I want to show you something very important. This is Alabama's Transverse Myelitis Awareness Day. I am so proud of getting this passed and for the people that helped me to pass this day. And it tells you on this proclamation, if you want to look it up on my Facebook page or look it up on the Transverse Myelitis Awareness page, you can read all the things that can happen to you. And also, I want to end with a picture of my precious Daniel. He didn't always do the right things. He wasn't always the best, but he was the best son to me. I love him, and I will see him again one day. I hope you all have learned something from this. And if you have any questions, please call me, send me a text, talk to me online. I hope you can see that. His smile was radiant. He had beautiful curls that the girls loved to play with. And he was my mini me, even though he was bigger than me. He was bigger than life sometimes, but I still loved him. May God be with you, and I pray that you never have to know someone in your family that has this disease. But please learn about it, read about it, and know that it can happen to you. It can happen to infants. It can happen to any age, any person. It doesn't matter who you are or where you are. It can strike. Thank you. Have a blessed day.